Hello, booktube. I'm Scott.
I'm Nelle.
We are Gunpowder, Fiction, and Plot. Oh, we were going to film this a lot earlier, but we got a bit distracted, didn't we? Now,
Yeah.
we had some dinner and we watched an episode of a show called Last One Laughing,
And then we watched the whole series.
which is a hilarious show. The concept is 10 comedians in a room, and
They're
they
not allowed
just
to laugh.
tell jokes until one of them laughs, and yeah,
And as soon as you laugh, you're out.
and
It was so funny.
it's an Australian show and it's got some of Australia's best comedians in it. And normally I wouldn't recommend an Australian show, but I really do recommend this one. It's got Becky Lucas in it, it's got Anne Edmonds in it, it's got Frank Woodley in it, it's got Sam Simmons in it, and they're all hilarious people. Joel Creasy, Nazrim Hussain, just...
I just think if you've seen this and if you don't understand the Australian sense of humour, then you will by the end of watching this series.
This is a tag. We were tagged by Sean the Book Maniac a few weeks ago. This is the good books with bad endings tag.
There's no questions. We're just going to talk about good books with bad endings. That's the rules.
That's the rules.
Are we going to start by tagging people? Or are we going to tag them at the end like
Ooh.
losers?
Alright, I'm going to tag Bethanne Brunica Sokola. I think Bethanne reads diversely and she'll have some interesting books.
I'm going to tag Courtney Ferriter because I like hearing her bag things.
I mean, you've just changed the meta here. I'm going to tag Amrita by the books because not only does she read diversely and have interesting opinions, I also like hearing Amrita bag things.
Yes.
She's the right amount of salty and happy.
And speaking of salty, I feel like we need to have some Smirty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some Sant Reads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just as a bonus tag, I'm going to tag Ange from Ange's Bookish Chatter because
salty.
Because I like the subtly salty people. Yeah. Except what do we talk about? Ange's not salty, she is lovely. Anyway, so the concept of this, so this is an original tag by Sean, but Sean was heavily inspired by a video that Carl Eric Anderson posted, where he did a video about good books, bad endings. And that's essentially it. Just talk about good books with bad endings. There's
Everything Charles Dickens ever wrote because the ending is too far from the beginning.
Are you saying that Dickens is good?
Alright, I take it back. I think this is really hard.
Yeah. Well, see, I was thinking about this, and like early on in my reading, if a book had a bad ending, then the book was bad.
And it was ruined.
Because the more that I have appreciated books, the less important plot is. And some people say that plot is very important for me in my reviews, because when it's not there, I'm very angry.
Yeah, but I think for me there's a couple of really good examples of like the types of endings that can fuck up a book for me. The God of Small Things, I think, is beautifully written and a really gorgeous book right up until that thing at the end that seems completely unnecessary. And
I mean, in other books it's perfectly acceptable, but in this book it's completely unacceptable.
it just seems to come out of the blue and not to serve any purpose. And I really felt like I completely had missed the entire point of the book and needed to go back and reread it to understand it because it couldn't have been... Do you know what I mean? Like, it completely undid what I already thought.
Yeah, it's every now and then you're reading a book and you're not quite getting it, and you're like, I just think the author is just putting stuff into this book, hoping that somebody reads it and goes, oh, genius, and they're like, no idea.
No, but not. I really thought that I had it and I understood it, and we're rolling along and I was having a great time picking apart, the beautifully written images and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and I don't really feel like it's a big spoiler to say what it is, but it is the last thing to happen in the book, and I think anybody who's read The God of Small Things
knows what
knows
we're
exactly
talking about.
what we're talking about.
And I think it's really common for the response to be like, it was a great book, but that, what the fuck? And I'm reluctant to read anything else by
Arundhati Roy.
Yeah, because I don't feel like I can trust it.
Yeah, a sort of a classic example of a good book with a bad ending for me is Catch 22, because it just sort of stops.
And, yeah.
Like, it's an anti-war book, it's a comedy book. I reckon it combines those two things really well. Literary comedy, and then it just doesn't know how it's going to finish. And
so it doesn't.
So it's like, it tells a joke, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's building to that as well. Like Joseph Hallier has actually considered, how am I going to end this book? I know that's how I'm going to do it.
Boom, cut.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah. But going back to like a classic bad ending, this is a book I've read quite recently, but Two on a Tower by Thomas Hardy. I was really enjoying this book, and I'm like, why is this not Far from the Madding Crowd or The Mayor of Casterbridge? Why is this not one of his really well-known books? And I'm getting to the end, and I'm realizing how it's probably going to end, and I was like, oh no, you're not going to do this, are you? And then when it happened, it was like a parody of everything that's happened in Victoria. It's like a stand-up comedian's going, I've read a lot of Victorian literature and I want to take the piss out of what happens. And Hardy did that, and it wasn't a piss take.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he foreshadowed it, so you knew it was coming, and you couldn't take your eye off the train wreck. And otherwise, this was one of his best novels.
But he ruined it.
Yeah. What else is on your list now?
I feel like this is probably gonna get me yelled at, but I think that The Lord of the Rings is too neat. I think everyone ends up with their own sort of happy little ending.
Yeah, Boromir especially. Sorry.
But, like, really, in the face of what was going on...
Yeah, it is quite... And you don't just mean the lovey-dovey ending at the end.
No, I mean like every tale that is, as it ties up, every section is just, it's very neat, and it's very, I mean, Disney.
It is. It's too happy for such a miserable book.
Yeah, and I understand why it could never be any other way, because the author is who the author was, and the original audience was who the original audience was, and various other things. Like, I get why it is, but it would have been better had more of them died.
You could totally have killed Merry and Pip.
Sam should have pushed Frodo into Mount Doom.
Yeah.
That would be a legit ending.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a much better ending, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to murder my best friend to save the world.
Yes.
Or Sam should have, dive tackled him and taken him down into the fires with him.
Oh, and they died together in a passionate, loving embrace.
Yeah, he could have stolen a kiss on the way down.
Yeah.
Rosie wouldn't have liked that.
Poor Rosie.
Yeah, poor Rosie. All right. Well, you've had a controversial one. I'm going to have a controversial one. I have realised, as I have read more and more books that my tastes and have changed with time. But one book I hated the ending of was Anna Karenina. And if you've not read Anna Karenina, it's broken up into 8 books. And the last book, and Anna Karenina really ends at book 7. Right? That's when the storyline ends. And book 8 is just an excuse for Tolstoy to write an essay. It exists entirely in one of the characters' heads, and it does not necessarily need to happen at the end. You could have had the storyline end as it does at the end of book 7. That could have been book 8, and book 8 could have been book 7. I mean, it's years since I've read that book.
I'd be interested in what you would think if you reread it now.
Well, I am planning on rereading Anna Karenina this year.
Well, we'll see what you think.
Yeah,
then.
I might save that one for Victober, even though it's not technically Victorian. I think it fits in with Victober good.
With the shoehorn, yeah.
Do you know, somebody had to translate Tolstoy for the Victorians to read him. And I feel like it would have been on the shelves next to like Dickens and Eliot and Hardy and all those people that didn't live at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
All right, now you've got one more.
My last one is Little Women. I'm actually not sure if it's book 1 or book 2 of Little Women because I tend to read the trilogy as one unit. But at the end where Joe decides to get married is just fucking incorrect, and we all understand why, but it basically requires the 3rd book to give Jo back her soul.
Yeah.
And for every little bookworm who identifies with Jo all throughout the start of the book, for her to give up her soul to some old dude is sad.
I've not read the 3rd book. I know the ending you're talking about. I've read that far.
Yeah. The 3rd book, Jo has set up an orphanage or a school for boys with her husband on a farm, and she's just got a farm full of boys to run amok with.
That must be Jo's boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and does she slowly poison them all with arsenic in their dinner?
No, it's just a romp.
Authors not changing genres when they have opportunities.
I'm sure she wrote that version.
It just didn't publish it.
Didn't publish it, just kept it for herself.
Louis May Elcock, could you tell your solicitor to send that this way so we can read that?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. All right, I think that's the end, isn't it? That's all we've got, just 6 books.
But it's an interesting thing because it really made me realise how much I don't give a toss about plot. Really, at all. And it's the characters that stick with me. You know, that happens.
Yeah, maybe we'll edit this out because it would have been better. Maybe this is a good tag with a bad ending.
Bye.